gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The show starts in 3, 2, 1, go.
Good morning, CaneSport. It's April the 3rd, 2024. I'm Gary Ferman, the publisher of CaneSport.com, joined once again this morning by our managing editor, Matt Shodell, as we discuss the news of the day. And Matt, before we get to the news of the day, I thought we'd start out this morning because, there seems to be such a disconnect on what we do on this show, what we really are, what we say, and how it gets interpreted by some of the guys out there that are watching every day, who we value you guys very, very much, and had a chance to meet many of you, and we appreciate your guys' support for this show. But I wanted to start out with just a few of the top button topics that have come up the last couple of weeks that I'm just seeing misunderstood a little bit. And man, nothing more prevalent than the topic of the quarterbacks. And this is an extremely competitive quarterback situation at Miami right now, Matt. And, I just have been giving a very honest opinion about how I think these guys stack up for the last couple of years. And it began with Tyler Van Dyke was the starting quarterback, and for whatever reason, Ja'Cory Brown has become a hot button topic, and we seem to have to be talking about it a lot, which I agree we are. But the reason we're talking about it so much is because people are so interested in his development and where he stands. And if I'm relaying what some of you guys out there are perceiving as me not liking a kid, or in this case, Ja'Cory or anybody else, that is the most ridiculous thing in the world. And I'm seeing a lot of these comments, and that's why I wanted to address it this morning. Like, Matt and I and anybody else that works for CaneSport, we don't have any biases towards anybody. Our job is to take you guys inside the team, to allow you guys to understand what is going on the practice field, in the program, and do everything we can do. You hear me use the term all the time: enhance your fan experience. That's what we're here for. We are here to enhance your fan experience by empowering you with knowledge of what's going on. So when I say that Ja'Cory is the number 4 quarterback right now in the program, it's not because I want him to be the number 4 quarterback in the program. It's because he is the number 4 quarterback in the program. There's Cam Ward, there's Reese Poppenberger, there's Emory Williams, and then there's Ja'Cory. And Judd Anderson is kind of off to the side right now. He's not getting a lot of opportunities because you just can't rep 5 quarterbacks in practice. It's not sustainable. You can't develop them all. And that is why I still maintain that somebody is going to leave after spring practice. And I do think right now, in my opinion, that the leading candidate to do that is probably going to be Ja'Cory Brown. It just makes too much sense for him to go find a place where he will have a better chance to play. And there will be places out there. Not every school has a quarterback room as strong as what Miami has, and necessarily has the same protocols and standards right now for quarterbacks that Miami has. And so that's one thing, Matt. I just wanted to clear up for everybody that we don't have biases against any players. There's not one player on this team that we don't like. We don't have any preconceived notions on anybody. We're here to tell you the facts and what it is. And from there, it's you guys, as individuals, could take it, for whatever it's worth and what you want. But I just want to make that very, very clear. So part of the conversation is the transfer portal. And this is going to become a very emotional a situation here in the next couple of weeks, without question. I mean, there are going to need to be 15 guys approximately that are on this team right now that aren't going to be here going into the summer. And that's just a fact. And, there's so many different elements of that, Matt, that we can debate. You've been a big, you've been a anti-transfer portal guy to a degree, because you've pointed out that it will take the program to this place where they are going to be. where they have to make the roster numbers fit and make some tough decisions. But the transfer portal is not going anywhere. I mean, it's very clear in college football and at the University of Miami, where you have a head coach who is here with a singular mission: make Miami great and get Miami back on a plateau where it once existed. And there is nothing else that matters. I'll flat tell you that. Mario Cristobal is a man on a singular-minded mission, and he is going to do whatever it takes. And that means every single day looking for ways to make the roster better, make the program better. So these things are all now coming together, Matt, and 15 guys, I think, are going to have to depart here by the spring, and it's going to be debated heavily by the fans. And I just want people to understand, we don't have biases about anybody. We are just looking at the situations, analyzing them, and telling you that, for example, we think they're going to bring in a running back. We think they're going to bring in 1 to 2 wide receivers. We think they're going to bring in defensive tackle. I think there's a great chance they also bring in a linebacker. And I think they're going to bring in 1 to 2 guys in the secondary to fortify what they have already. So, Matt, I'm going to stop there on with those 2 issues first. If comment if you have any thoughts on either one of those. The quarterback situation, the fact that somebody's going to be the odd man out, and the other thing I'm going to bring up is you can't have 5 quarterbacks, and here's why: NIL. The quarterback position commands the biggest budgets of NIL. Right now, that quarterback room is sucking up enormous resources with the collective. And they need to free up some of those funds to go to other areas of the team. You can't have, no one's going to have 5 quarterbacks anymore in college football. So, Matt, your thoughts?
Okay, well, you were sort of meandering all over the place. So,
that's why I'm stopping.
So I'll start with the imaginary first. There was a really good, since you mentioned the YouTube people picking on you mainly.
Hey, they call you a grumpy old man.
Here's one I particularly liked. Gary, you are a loser. OKG, please stop giving your takes. And that was from at the real Jacurri Brown. I don't know who that is, but that was from some guy at GBen GAA GISA FE 1036. He wrote Jarry, GARRY. You are looser, LOOSER. OKG, please stop giving takes. You are an EDO, EEDIO. And I actually Googled what an EDO is because I always like to learn new words. I am a reporter. There's no such thing as an EDO. I think what he meant is an idiot, because idiot is actually a word. It's listed as non-standard dialect for multiple idiots. So you're not just one idiot, Gary. You're multiple idiots. That's how bad
multiple idiot
with the YouTube fan base.
Out that the number 4 quarterback on the team is the number 4 quarterback on the team.
Anyway, it says you are EDO, a certified one. So at least you're certified. An uncertified EDO would be really an insult, but you're certified, so it's not as bad. Then there was another good one I liked. I don't know who wrote it. I didn't really look it up, but I noticed it yesterday. Somebody said, "Don't pick on Steven." This is addressed to me. "Don't pick on Steven, or I'm not going to be a fan of you anymore." To which I didn't really reply, but maybe I did reply. I don't know. No, I don't think I did reply. I was going to reply, but I just didn't see any real upside to it. I was going to reply something along the lines of, I don't have any fans. I don't want any fans. And stop being my fan. I'm not going to make fun of Steven. I don't even know what I did to make fun of Steven. I'm trying to remember what I did. I'm sure I did something because, even if I watch back these videos, which I don't do because they're disturbing videos, quite honestly. If I watch them back, I'm like, I don't even remember saying half the stuff I said. It's like, did I really say that? Anyway, then you mentioned my view on the transfer portal. Yeah, I'm anti-transfer portal, but I'm pro-free agent portal. That's what you always miss with me. I don't want, they call them JAGs. I don't want just guys to be depth fillers. You're always big on the depth fillers. Oh, every team needs depth guys. Every team needs depth guys. No, if you have to take a depth guy, maybe a senior is okay since they're just here for 1 year if you have the spots. If you're going to carry an 84-man roster anyway, fine, take 1 senior depth guy. I'm okay with that. But other than that, they've been taking way too many just wasted transfers, and way too few free agents. We counted them up once before. I think the hit miss was 20% for what we considered free agents. It's not good enough. When you're such a good recruiter, don't don't mess around with guys other people recruited and then didn't work out somewhere else for whatever reason, because quite honestly, the guys you're paying the big bucks to, like you mentioned, those are the free agents, you know? And I was talking with another reporter at practice yesterday, and, you know, I didn't even think about this. He said to me, he said, of all the transfers they got this year, I think so far they have 10, is it 9 or 10, right? I didn't add it up. But he said, of all the transfers that they've gotten so far, who's impressed you? Which to me is basically asking in my lingo, you know, who's a free agent? And he said, aside from Cam Ward. And I said, you know, it's funny you say that, because, you know, before watching the spring, I would have said, you know, the center, the defensive tackle, the safety, you know, the Michelle Powell, obviously, and CJ Clark and Carpenter, you know, those three. For sure, I would have considered them free agents. But now that I've seen them practice, like, I'm sorry to say, I'm like not overly impressed. I hope they work out. Obviously, you know, it's like people think like I want Miami to lose. Like nobody wants Miami to win more than I do. It's miserable covering a team where the fans are mad, that the players aren't happy talking because they're not doing well. You know, we like last year we had was the year before we had an NIL deal with Xavier Restrepo, and then just things weren't going well and he got hurt. And he's just like, let's just cancel the deal. And I'm like, okay, you know, I mean, but like that's what happens when things aren't going well. Players don't really want, they go into a shell. It's not fun for anybody. So nobody wants Miami to win more than myself and Gary, quite honestly. A, it's good for business. B, it's a lot more fun covering a winning team. I mean, you think we want to go to these games and deal with coaches and players after they lose a game and the whole next week? Like, no, that's not fun. It's painful. So anyway, so yes, we are all Miami fans here, you know, but Gary and I, we do have to put on our reporter hats. And I think that's where this disconnect Gary's talking about comes from, where people get upset. Because when Gary says stuff about Ja'Carri Brown, it's not just stuff he sees, which we do see Ja'Carri struggling, more so past years. This spring, he's been actually really, really good. But he's really struggled in the past. So it's fair for Gary to say that. And people are like, you never said that about whatever that Las Vegas kid was. Like, no, Gary did say that about the Las Vegas kid, you know?
The first day he got here, I said it about.
Yeah, he blew him up. He was blowing up. This kid's awful. This kid should move to receiver. And the kid did move to receiver, you know? But anyway, that was back then. But now,
I didn't even think that. I thought he shouldn't be there.
Well, yeah, but what I'm saying is people don't remember clearly. And we're not here on this show to tell you guys what you want to hear. That's not what we're here for. Now, some of it might be what you want to hear, but if it's what you want to hear, it's because we actually believe it. You know, we're not here to just make everyone feel good, which a lot of, there's so many podcasts now, I don't know. But a lot of them seem to trend in the positive direction where everybody's getting better, everyone's improving, this guy has so much potential, blah, blah, blah. Like you never hear people say the truth, what they actually feel and believe, because either they don't want to make someone upset at UM, which we don't want to either, but you don't upset people at UM when they know you're speaking the truth, you know? When people at UM hear us say something,
had anybody get mad for speaking the truth.
Because we're speaking the truth. Because if you make something up and you say, oh, Ja'Carri Brown's been, you know, his accuracy has been terrible. This spring he's been really good, but in the past, his accuracy has been terrible. Do you think that would go over well at UM if it wasn't true? People would be very angry with us. They know what we're talking about. Of course they do. They read our stories. You know, sometimes they ask us to change our stories because of this or that and the other thing, you know. We won't, that's another story for another day. But the point is, you know, these are just, they're things we A, do believe, they're things we B, do hear, and they're things C, we are telling you. And like, if you get upset about it, fine. But at the end of the day, there's only one negative Nancy, Nelly, Willie, Billy, whatever, who predicted the team was not going to be real good the last 2 years. And it's this ugly freaking guy right here. And like, it's just because I believe that. Because listen, it's easy to have told you guys over the last 2 years, Miami's going to win 10 games. Miami's going to win 10 games. You know, that's what a lot of people did. That's what everyone did that I can think of, you know. And I predicted 8 wins in his first year. And I think 8 wins in his second year, right? Yeah, that's what I did. I said 7 to 9 wins his first year. I think we settled on 8. And then I said 8 wins last year. And obviously I was wrong both times. They were worse. But they weren't 10-win predictions like everyone else gave. And now everyone's giving 10-win predictions again. And I'm inclined to not disagree. So like for fans who say I'm so negative, you know, I've been saying since the beginning of Mario being here, I said, listen, the first couple of years could be rough. And then I think year 3, 10 wins, year 4, the playoffs. And I'm not going to waver from that. Like, I still think that's true. The only problem I'm having with it right now is that the schedule next year is going to be really hard. You know, if they could put next year's team and what those young guys on next year's team are going to become on this year's team right now, like that's a playoff team right now. But now next year you got Clemson, you got a tougher out of conference schedule. I mean, this was the year schedule wise to be like, in the top 10 by the end of the year. So now the question becomes, can the defense step up? Because we know the offense will be good enough with Cam Ward. He had a rough practice yesterday, but he's outstanding. He's everything that was advertised. So anyway, so that's that. And the other reason, and Gary always says I'm wrong about this, but I said that this is a make or break year for Mario. And I still do believe that. I'm not going to lie about it. I still believe that. And the reason I believe it is because if they only win 7 or 8 games this year, if they don't hit at least 9 wins, okay, NIL and the transfer portal kill coaches who have had 3 very average to bad years. And Mario Cristobal, if he wins 7 or 8 games this year, will be basically at 500 for his 3-year career at Miami. And we all know what happens if you just look at the last, how many coaches, Gary? 5 coaches that have gone 3 years at Miami with mediocre records. Like, it's not a good situation. And so now when you have that, plus NIL, plus the transfer portal where anybody can just leave whenever they want, it could set up for a really, really rough situation at the University of Miami. So that's why I say this year they absolutely need and have to win at least 9 games, and probably, in my opinion, 10 games with the schedule they have. Because you win 9, you're losing to at least one pretty bad team. They only have 2 decent teams on their schedule all year, and that's FSU and Louisville. I don't see anyone else on that schedule that wouldn't be considered an upset if they beat Miami. So there's no reason they shouldn't win 9+ games this year. And assuming they do that, then everything will be fine. The recruiting has been really, really good. Those 2 classes the last 2 classes he's brought in will be developed under this coaching staff. I fully believe that. And if he stops taking these nonsense transfers and just keeps loading up on recruits, man, it'll just be a recurring theme. And once that engine gets going, man, it just keeps going,
Yeah, they're just not there yet. I mean, it's a young team. Mario's had 2 real recruiting classes. There was a transition class, which had some misses in it, no question, but it wasn't a horrendous class. But they're probably one more full recruiting cycle away from being at the point where they don't need as many transfers. But whoever's dissing the transfer class of this year, I think is way off base. I mean, you picked up a starting quarterback in Cam Ward. You picked up what hopefully will be a backup quarterback in Reese Poppenberger, praying that this kid stays in the program because he does have ability. And I do think that the battle between him and Emory to be the starter in 2025 would really, really, really be epic. I mean, I like both guys. So I know people are big into disrespecting Emory Williams. Emory Williams is a good quarterback, and so is Reese. So I think that competition, and then when obviously Luke Nickel and Judd Anderson would try to be factored in. We'll see what happens with Jakari, but I think that would be a really good competition. I hope Reese stays in the program. Zach Carpenter, in fairness to what Matt said, he did start out a little bit slow here in spring practice from what we could see. Last week or so, I've seen a guy picking it up, and he's a big dude, physical. He plays with a lot of controlled rage, I'll say, and I think he's going to be a decent center for Miami. He's not going to be a superstar. I'm not convinced yet that he's as good as Matt Lee, but I think he was a solid pickup in the portal. Elijah Alston is giving them depth at defensive end. Mish Powell is going to be the starting nickelback. Savion Riley is probably going to be a starting safety. Markel Bell is making progress in leaps and bounds at offensive tackle. He's going to challenge Samson Okinola. Possibly it could be one of those 2 guys that ends up winning a starting job and allowing Maui Goa maybe to move inside to guard. We'll see how that plays out on the offensive line, but it's creating depth. I think he was an absolute take and doing well. And CJ Clark and Marley Cook are providing depth at maybe the weakest spot on the team at defensive tackle. I'm still not convinced they're even close to where they need to be there. I think they will be searching for a dude in the portal, as I said. So I like this year's transfer class. Now, you hear us saying that we think in the portal they're going to pick up 5 or 6 guys here in April, as April or early May, however it plays out moving forward. And I really believe that. I think it's going to be 6 to 7. And yes, they are going to have to lose 15 to 16 guys that are on the roster right now. And I think Mario is prepared to make those difficult decisions. But I do think it's different, Matt, and you're going to like this because I don't, and I hope I'm right on this. I really do, because I actually do line up with you on this. I hope that those 6 or 7 guys that they're going to take in the portal are dudes, like starting level players. I agree with you. They need to get away from taking depth fillers and roster fillers in the portal at this point. Got to develop these 2 recruiting classes, 2.5, we'll say 2.5 recruiting classes that have come in under Mario. So, you can develop kids on the practice field, but it helps a lot if they're able to play. But at the same time, if they are not good enough to help Miami challenge for the ACC title in what Matt's calling a make or break season here in 2024, if they are not good enough to help you do that, then you don't have time right now to put them on the field because, I'm not aligned with Matt on this make or break label, but it's a very important season. Mario needs to win. You got a lot of people putting up a lot of money to fund NIL right now, and they're not getting anything in return. They're not even getting the joy of victory, out of it. They're just giving their money away. I don't care how rich people are. They get tired of giving their money away. And it is very important that the Miami Hurricanes win this year to keep the NIL budgets at the level that they need to be at for this program to be competitive. And, so in that sense, yes. But I hope that these 6 or 7 guys that are taken in the spring portal are what Matt will call free agents, and that Matt will be sitting on this show applauding what they are doing. And even though it's leading to some emotional departures and things like that, which we'll be covering obviously as it moves forward, that we are all collectively, you guys out there as well, feeling good about what's going on, and that they are making the program better, which is what they're trying to do every single day. So Matt, I don't think we're going to see roster fillers here in the weeks coming up. I think that they will go to the portal. I think they'll be aggressive, but I think they're going to be looking for dudes. I think Cam Ward is going to be a magnet for some offensive skill players to fortify what they already have. And I think at the end of the day, it's going to be a win-win for the program.
I mean, Mario Cristobal and the transfer portal is like my wife at Athleta. I mean, like every day a new package arrives from Athleta, okay? But you know what? She returns 95% of them. She just likes to get them, and she brings them back to the store. But Mario can't return his transfers. He's stuck with them. So listen, here's the deal, okay? Miami right now, and we're assuming that Luis Cristobal will be off scholarship, I believe, anyway, that's what you've reported. So including that, they're at 91, which is +6. And we're assuming that Miami's not going to be paying, I don't know, it's a gray area. Just give someone $100,000 cash to be a walk-on all of a sudden. I don't know that you're allowed to do that. I don't think it's going to happen at Miami.
They will not be.
They're not going to be in that gray area, right? So we're at 91. They're going to add, and I agree with you, they're going to add probably 6 to 7 transfers. So we'll just say 6 for the sake of argument, okay? So now when all these freshmen report in the summer, you are cutting 12 players, okay? You're cutting 12 players. You don't have a choice. That's the rules. They're not expanding this 85 limit, all right? So now.
And you're already counting Henry Parrish, who left already.
Henry Parrish is off. Henry Parrish is off. Right. This is current number. Current number, right. Cutting 12. All right, now here's what I'm going to tell you, and I keep trying to explain to you, Gary. They're cutting freshmen and sophomores, okay? I'm going to read you some names. These are all the offensive seniors. Cam Ward, Jacoby George, Xavier Estrepo, Cam McCormick, Zach Carpenter, okay? They're all not going to be going anywhere, okay? No. On defense, maybe there's a little bit of fat to trim, and I don't want to, say who it could be, but I'll tell you afterwards how many people out of this list I think maybe can go. On the defensive line, seniors, Anthony Campbell, Thomas Gore, Jared Harrison Hunt, CJ Clark, Marley Cook, Elijah Alston, Francisco Maligoa, Darrell Porter Jr., and Michael Powell. Out of all those guys that are seniors, I think maybe one. And that's it. I don't think they can get rid of more than one of those guys I just named because they're all going to be in the 2 deep. They're all going to have roles. Do you agree or disagree?
Totally agree.
Okay. So now we're at 11. Best case scenario at 11 if they only had 6 transfers, okay? Now we're going to the junior class. Okay, and the special teams doesn't matter because Andy Borgalis isn't going anywhere, and they don't have any other juniors or seniors. So the juniors on offense, okay? And we're just going to say, I'm going to say a number of how many of these offensive juniors I think they can comfortably get rid of. Now, Reese Poffenbarger might leave on his own, but they're not getting rid of him, so I'm not counting him. Okay, the other ones are Shamar Kirk, Mike Redding, Zion Nelson, Logan Sagapolu, Jalen Rivers, Inez Cooper, John Dennis, and Markel Bell. Okay, I'm counting 4 that maybe you can get rid of out of that group. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
Okay, so now you're cutting 7. Okay, go from 11 to 7. Defense, who can you cut out of this group? These are the only other juniors left on the entire team. Akeem Messidor, Chase Smith, Wesley Basaint, Jadeus Richard, and Brian Ballum. And I'm not sure you can get rid of Brian Ballum because you need every safety you can right now. So I don't know that you can get rid of any, maybe one guy. Maybe.
I would say 2 of
Okay.
the guys.
So even then, you're cutting 5 freshmen and sophomores off this roster. Okay.
You still got to lose 5 more. Yeah.
You need 5 more. And here's your sophomore class, by the way. Who are you going to get rid out of this group? Okay. Jakari Brown, Emery Williams, AJ Allen, Javante Citizen, Mark Fletcher, Isaiah Horton, Ray Joseph, Riley Williams, Elijah Arroyo, Matthew McCoy, Ryan Rodriguez, who's your only backup center, Francis Mauigoa. You can't get rid of any of them. Here's your sophomores. Nicely, here's your sophomore defensive players. Every sophomore defensive player. Okay, after this, you got to cut freshmen. And remember, right now, best case scenario, we're at 5 that you got to cut. Nigel Kelly, Ahmad Moten, who's with the 1s and the 2s right now. Jaden Wayne, who was with the 1s. Ruben Bain, Marcellus Pulliam, Raul Aguirre, Popo Aguirre, you're not getting rid of him. Jaden Harris, not getting rid of him. Markeith Williams with the 1s. Damari Brown, Caleb Spencer, Savion Riley, and Demetrius Freeney. Maybe one guy. So now you've got 4.
I got 2 guys. I got 2.
Okay. So now you're cutting 3. So now congratulations, Gary. You're only cutting 3 freshmen off the team. Good job. This is what you said was going to work out just fine. They're cutting 3 freshmen.
You got me. If it plays out the way you just said, you're right. Now you got 3 tough decisions to make, which means that you would be losing guys that still have value to the program, but maybe
not value. You don't even know what they're going to be.
But you'd be replacing them with guys that you feel are better. And there's a chance, Matt, that there's going to be 3 guys that want to leave. I mean, everybody's not going to want to return. It works both ways.
But the guys that we agree should leave, and we're not naming names, the rest of those guys we don't want to leave because we know they're helping the team. So like you could say, they might want to leave. We don't want them to leave.
But we get down to 3 with it being obvious. I don't think any of the guys that we're saying we would eliminate are not going to be on the list at the end of the day. Like, it's pretty obvious. So,
I mean,
they're players or 3 guys going to want to leave on their own, like Henry Parrish. There will be. My prediction is there will be 3+ freshmen, redshirt freshmen that are gone. Just period. That's just my prediction. You watch, and it's not because they want to leave. They just got here. It's because Mario either screwed up in recruiting and just wanted a 4 or 5 star, 4-star for his class that he wasn't sure would pan out, didn't pan out, or it's just a pure numbers thing. They don't know. You don't know what a 4-star from a year or 2 ago is going to become. And they just got to do some guesswork and say, maybe, for example, maybe Jackson Carver won't put on his 40 pounds we were hoping he'd put on, or whoever. Like, I don't mean to pick him out. Like, he's got a great future. But, like, there are guys like that where maybe they'll say, oh, you know what? He was a project, and, we just don't need a project right now. I don't know. Like, I don't know where you go with that, but it's really annoying. No, but he could be one of the 3. Like, he could
be. I mean, I don't know. Like, he's got so much athleticism, and you look at him, and if he could put on 40 pounds, he's going to be one of the best tight ends in the country. And you're just saying, go gain your weight somewhere else. Like, that's your future. That class, that redshirt freshman class is your future, and you're kicking off 3 or 4 or 5 guys, depending on how it shakes out. For what? For a bunch of transfers who are here for 1 year, in a year where maybe you win 9 or 10 games. That's not for me, man. I want to win a national championship with these freshmen, redshirt freshmen, and sophomores. That's my goal. And now you're freaking getting rid of them because Mario has to take transfers? Because he's loaded up on the transfer portal? Like, are you kidding me? This is what you wanted, Ferman. So you got what you wanted. Congratulations. All the freshmen will be gone. They could bring a bunch of transfers.
I'm trying to be realistic here, and I'm looking at the 2023 recruiting class because 2024 class, I don't see any misses already. Like, they just got here. No one's leaving from that class. I'm looking at 2023, and I would say I could see 2 or 3 guys from this 2023 class leaving. I could see it. I don't think it's out of the question. I could see a few of these guys definitely departing. So, we'll see. We'll see how it plays out. I think we just gave you guys a pretty accurate picture of where things stand. And you're seeing that this is going to be a delicate time, a lot of emotion, a lot of debate between us, between you guys out there in fandom. You're not going to like every opinion we throw out. Please don't attack us personally. We're not looking to disrespect any 18, 19, 20-year-old kids. We are just giving you an accurate picture of what we see and the way we think it's going to be playing out. And we might not be right on every single situation. But I do think we have a pretty good pulse on this program, on this team, and where things stand. And, so we'll just see how that plays out. So Mark, Matt, another little hot button.
Who's Mark? Who is Mark? Am I being replaced by someone named Mark?
No,
Who is this guy?
Matt, that was a slip up. Listen, Matt. Okay, you're going to see why I screwed up.
Because I'm my name to Mark. I'm going to be Mark.
I'm getting ready to talk about Mark Fletcher. So this is a little bit of a hot button that got kind of.
Don't you mean Matt Fletcher? You sure you mean Mark Fletcher?
It got garbled up a little bit in the translation, so I just want to make something clear. I think Mark Fletcher is a very good running back. I don't think he's Clinton Portis. I don't think he's Frank Gore. I don't think he's Willis McGahee. How dare you? How dare you besmirch? I don't think
the legacy that will be Mark Fletcher's.
Yeah, well, so the point I'm making is the Miami Hurricanes football program, even though it has Mark Fletcher, they're not going to stop recruiting running backs, and they're not going to stop looking for the next Portis, the next Gore, the next McGahee, the next Edgerrin James, guys that were, had great legendary careers at Miami who are better running backs than Mark Fletcher. So the point I'm making is that Mario is not going to stop looking for those type of players beginning in the transfer portal here in the next 2 weeks. And if one of those dudes out there in the country who has that type of ability or close to it wants to come be a Miami Hurricane and play with Cam Ward, he is going to get serious consideration. Come join this roster. And yes, that means that even a healthy Mark Fletcher may get less reps in 2024. And I'm sorry, that is the truth. Okay. And I know that might upset people. Mark's a great kid. We love him. He did a great job as a true freshman last year. But if you can go out and get somebody better, listen, Cam Ward is an NFL quarterback. Okay. He is, you're not going to have a quarterback who could play at this level. And you guys will get to see him, I guess, next week in the spring game, but even more so when the season starts. This kid's got unique talent, and he's a really good player. And you have a responsibility here to the program, to you guys out there, the fan base, and everybody else, and Cam Ward, by the way, to surround him with the best talent that you can find to go out and try to contend to make the damn playoffs this year. And we talk about the timeline, and Matt says he's thinking playoffs year 4. I'm telling you that if they can get the right 5 or 6 dudes here in the portal, I don't think the playoff is out of the question for year 3 here right now, because they have Cam Ward and how much better he makes this football team in general. And they still need some pieces on defense, no argument. But if they get him in the portal, this is a team that can contend to win the ACC in 2024. And if they win the ACC, they will be in the playoffs. So just wanted to clear that up. Again, that upsets some people. I understand, but I think it's the facts. It's the facts of the situation, the facts of what's going on. If Miami can upgrade at any position on the field in the portal here in a few weeks, they are going to do so without apologies. And we'll leave it at that. All right, so Matt, let's now talk about some of the topics that are on the website here. Now that we've cleaned all that other stuff up, and I hope people found it somewhat interesting. We have a story on the website on Akeem Mesidor, who continues his recovery from injury. He had ligament damage in 2 feet, last year. We found out yesterday for the first time the extent of what he's been dealing with. And, now he's working his way back. He's not 100% back yet. He's working in individual drills, not doing full contact. That's going to come by the fall, and we're expecting to see Mesidor on the field in September, obviously. And Matt, to me, this is huge. Being able to pair him with Ruben Bain, he's versatile. He can move inside and out. It just makes the defensive line a whole lot better. And I'll say something else controversial right now. People are going to go, "Wow!" I'm not so enamored by this idea that Ruben Bain is missing spring and missing all this developmental time. I mean, great player, freshman of the year, ACC, had a good season, everything else. To me, that's his floor. I think Ruben Bain has so much more to peel off the onion here, and in terms of his capabilities as a football player. And I think him missing the spring here and developmental time is a way bigger deal than I've heard anybody even think about to this point. And, we are so quick here because of what we've been through in the last 20 years to anoint. And believe me, this kid is a phenomenal football player, probably the second best player on the team right now after one freshman year. So we think of the world of Ruben Bain. But anyway, Mesidor coming back to the defensive line, to me, is an equally big deal. He is a more complete football player right now, probably even than Ruben Bain, just because he's older, more experienced. He's been through some of the wars. I think he's invaluable to the Miami defense. And Matt, it was great to see him smiling and feeling good about things. And he's got to get some shoes right and stuff like that. But getting Mesidor back is just massive for this football team.
I'm concerned after that interview. I shared your optimism before that interview, but is a guy who needs special shoes that he doesn't even know what they're going to be able to do for him. Like he was asked, like, do you know what these shoes are going to be able to help you do that regular shoes can't? Because he literally can't wear regular cleats and play. He can't do it. So like, what are these magic cleats? He doesn't even know. He's like, they took some measurements. I don't know. He's like, they told me to take 2 months. It's going to take 2 months to get them. Where are they outsourcing from? Are they outsourcing stuff from the front lines of Ukraine? Like, what takes 2 months to get the materials to put together a shoe? Little kids are making them in China every day. Like, just freaking send one of those over. I don't understand. I mean, it's very concerning that, like, this guy has no idea what these magic shoes are going to do for him, but he just knows he can't wear other shoes. He can't wear other cleats. He's waiting on the magic cleats. Like, that says to me, this could be a problem.
They're just fitting them to his feet. They're customizing the soles of the shoes to I assume relieve the pressure on the bottom of his feet.
Well, what is it? Is it an FSU fan doing this? Who takes 2 months to make a sole of a shoe, Gary? If it's not an FSU or Florida fan, there's concern there. That should not happen. I had special inserts made. They were there a week later. Like, that's what my orthopod did. They took a mold of my foot, and a week later, my magic thing that, by the way, didn't work, showed up. But feet are extraordinarily difficult to protect, to keep from re-injuring. It's bizarre that he had ligament damage in both feet. Probably one was pre-existing, one happened again. They're like, let's just fix both. But that to me sounds structural. That sounds to me like what Zion Nelson's knees are doing to Zion. Like, it doesn't sound like something that's gonna go away. It sounds like he's gonna be playing in pain constantly. And I'm not sure guys play at their best like that. So I don't know if the feet have to go like this, right, to get explosion. I'm pretty sure last time I checked. And like, if these ligaments that were repaired aren't able to do that in these magic shoes, he's not going to have the same explosive burst he did before. And maybe he will be best suited in that case at defensive tackle, which is fine. That's probably where he belongs if that's the case. And you know what? He also told us yesterday, essentially, not in so many words, that Ruben Bain refuses to play defensive tackle. Like, I don't understand this team. The players just decide where they're going to play. I mean, thank God that Cam Ward didn't say he also wants to punt and be like Danny Miller for the Cowboys from 50 years ago. I mean, the whole thing's insane. Like, just tell Ruben Bain he's playing tackle. Tell James Williams he's playing linebacker. If they want to leave, they freaking leave. Like, I don't need guys like that on my team anymore. I'm so over that stuff.
Yeah, I am too. But I haven't whipped these out in a while. So I'm gonna whip them out now. I'm gonna put my orange and green colored glasses on, and I'm gonna say that I'm gonna be positive about this Akeem Mesidor situation, and I'm gonna assume that whatever shoes they put together for him are gonna be effective. And
I mean, if it was April 1st, I would have said it was an April Fool's joke that he was telling us that he needed special magic shoes that take 2 months to create in some laboratory that he doesn't even know where it is or what it's going to be. Like, it sounded like an April Fool's joke, half of that interview, quite honestly. just a day late.
I'm going to take the high road, and I'm going to be optimistic that they're going to help him. And we'll leave it at that for now until we actually see what he looks like when he has.
You know when people have plantar fasciitis, right? They give them all sorts of shoes and inserts, but the real doctors who are being honest with those patients will tell them there's nothing that's going to work. It's just got to run its course. Eventually, it'll start getting better. You know, same thing with frozen shoulder, right? You get frozen shoulder. You go for this rehab, that rehab. You can take all sorts of medication. It's not going to get better except for time. Like over time, eventually it'll get better, you know? And if you keep on doing stuff to aggravate it, it's probably not going to get better, right? Like you have to rest it. And then you do have to, well, not frozen shoulder, you don't rest that. But like when you have plantar fasciitis, you got to rest your feet a little bit. And that's the opposite of what Akeem Messidor is doing with his feet. So I don't see this having a happy ending, but you know, who am I to say?
All right, let's move on. Another story we have on the website is on Elijah Lofton, the freshman. I'm already going to call him a phenom. I mean, nobody's even seen him do anything yet out there in the Canes Nation. You guys are just hearing us talking about this kid, and I think he's going to be a superstar. I think he is going to be a matchup nightmare. They're going to be able to do so many different things with him. I'm expecting him to just, you know, be the real deal here. And we had a chance to talk to him for the first time since his arrival yesterday. And very cool kid, you know, he gets his motivation and intensity from his mom, and told us a little bit about that, and a lot of different elements to that story. So make sure you check that one out, and have an eye on Elijah Lofton when you go to watch the spring game. We also had a story on the website on Riley Williams, the almost forgotten tight end. Matt, Elijah Arroyo looks really good. You know, it's like I remember a year ago watching him coming back from injury, and he just looked it was in fall camp, and I didn't think he looked right. He looked very slow to me, and really didn't get a whole lot done last year. He is entirely different here a few months later for spring practice. He looks like he's got his speed back. He's catching the football great. Elijah Arroyo, to me, Matt, looks like he is going to have a monster season this year. And Shannon Dawson, I think, is committed to reminding everybody that tight ends do great things at Miami.
You know, honestly, I think Elijah Lofton might be the best of the bunch, even as a true freshman. Elijah Arroyo, he looks really, really good, yes. But like Elijah Lofton's is a different level. And they're going to be using Elijah Arroyo. I mean, just from what I've seen in practice, it seems like Arroyo is the guy who's attached to the line. And it seems like Lofton's the guy they're moving everywhere to get mismatches to catch the ball, you know, and get open and make plays. So I think Lofton's the guy to watch this year, not Arroyo. Arroyo will be fine as a blocker and maybe getting catches here and there. I don't think he's going to blow up or anything like that. And he hasn't had a big year at Miami yet. But this Lofton guy, man, I haven't seen. I mean, he says he watches Brevin Jordan film. Like he's already ahead of where Brevin Jordan was as a freshman, you know. And Brevin Jordan was pretty good as a freshman. You know, we've seen he literally lines up at running back, you know, in practice while we're watching, lines up at running back and takes handoffs. Like that's what we're looking at, you know, Jaheim Bell like type stuff. Where he's going to have rush yards, he's going to have receiving yards, he's going to help out as a blocker. Like he's going to do everything. And he really looks so fluid and natural doing everything. And it seems like he's really picking things up fast, very bright. And, you know, the sky is literally the limit. And you know me, I'm not a fan of playing true freshmen ever. I think it's really, really hard for true freshmen to be consistently good. You know, even Ruben Bain towards the end of last year, as Gary pointed out, was much less effective. But this is just a special tight end who I think they need right away to be a factor. And I think he will be a factor. You know, again, this is a new offense. Cam Ward, for those people who think he's going to throw deep all the time, he throws a lot of short passes. If you watch this film from Washington State, this is not a guy, even though it's called the air raid, you know, Washington State or whatever, they threw a lot of short and intermediate balls, a lot. Okay. And that's where Elijah Lofton is going to really be able to flourish, I think. I think he's in for a really, really I wouldn't shock me if he has over 500 receiving yards, you know, as crazy as it sounds for a true freshman who probably isn't going to be this day one starter, right? They just, you know, that is what it is. But really, I'm really high on him. I think he's amazing.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm a little higher on Arroyo than you are, but you know, to me, the key is going to be Shannon Dawson. And there's no excuses this year, quite honestly. He's got weapons and things to scheme with, and especially if they go out and get themselves one or two really elite receivers, he's going to have everything an offensive coordinator could want. You know, you got the quarterback, you got all the skill guys, and you got an offensive line that's looking like it could be pretty good. So this is a big year for Shannon Dawson. He's got to get it done this year better than last year, and it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. All right, and we have the normal assortment of recruiting stories on the site. You know, Malachi Toney, Calvin Russell. You know, make sure you guys check all that out. You know, we will be continue to build on that. A lot of recruiting news constantly taking place right now during spring practice. But that's going to do it for today for Good Morning CaneSport. Thank you guys for starting out your day with us. Hope you enjoyed all the conversation on the show. If you like the show, like the channel, hit your subscribe and like buttons. It helps us with the algorithms at YouTube and growing our audience. If you are not yet a subscriber to CaneSport.com, please come on over to our website, become a member. We got a phenomenal community of fans, and we do the best that we can every day to give you guys entertainment, enjoyment, and enhance your experience as a fan. So for Matt Shodell, I'm Gary Ferman. Thanks again, everybody, and we will see you next time.